Hello and welcome to the Dungeon of Bad Decisions. This is the 31st installment of Anna Attempts to Explain Things. I'm your host Anna, and this week's topic is 5e for Noobs Part 3, Base Classes. Okay, so Dahlia's no longer going to be involved in this because of various reasons, mostly because she got a job, so good for her, and she also started playing a campaign with some of her coworkers, so there's that. Anyways, so I'm only going to cover what's in the base handbook for now. We can cover what's in Xanathar's Guide another time. I'm going to follow this up with a series of videos that go more in depth with the abilities, advantages, and disadvantages of each class, but for now, here's a basic overview of the 12 base classes. Okay, so the 12 base classes are Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. So, in alphabetical order, without further ado, here's goes. So, the Barbarians are pretty much the tanks. In previous editions, like 3.5 and Pathfinder, they also acted as sort of like crude trap finders, I guess, because they had abilities for dodging traps if they set them off and stuff like that. But 5e sort of gotten rid of that. Their big deal is strength. They've got the highest hit die, the biggest hit die. It's a d12, so they're tanks. They're damage sponges. They soak up blows, and they deal blows. What makes Barbarians unique is their rage ability. So, which in 5th edition lasts about a minute. It's a bonus action, so if you aren't wearing heavy armor while raging, you get advantage on strength checks and saving throws. When you make a melee attack using strength, you get a bonus to the damage roll that increases as you gain levels in Barbarian, which is shown in the leveling up table. And you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So it means you can take damage and then you don't necessarily get all of it. So somebody hits you for 12 bludgeoning damage, like they hit you with a mace for 12. At a certain point, you can take like 6. You get other things that allow you to move faster, hit harder, for more. So that's Barbarians. They hit hard, they take damage. Next up is Bards. What do Bards do? Bards are, as I've said before, purely a support class. They give you checks to knowing things. They're good for roleplay, for convincing NPCs to do stuff or to not do something, for boosting your other people's abilities in combat, and for, making sure you know stuff. So you're fighting werewolves, and in character you don't know that werewolves have DR against everything but silver, or whatever it is that werewolves have in 5e. Then your bard can make the check and be like, hey, guys, werewolves have DR against everything but silver. You got any silver weapons? And then you can be more prepared or whatever. So third is clerics. They are kind of pretty heavy hitters. They tend to be like party leaders a lot of the time because they are divine casters, but they can also wear armor and shields and weapons. They can't wear heavy armor, but they can wear light and medium armor, which is more than most casters can wear. So what they do is they lead. They've got wisdom and charisma, and they cast with their wisdom. So they're pretty good for, that. Druids. I've never played a druid. I've never even come close to playing a druid because for me they're very complicated. Their primary strength is wisdom as well. They also have light and medium armor and shields ability, but it can't be anything metal because they're druids. They're nature's magic men, I guess. They also get shape-shifting abilities, and they get a lot more elemental spells and stuff, so they can be pretty badass. Fighter. They're very versatile. They get the second highest hit die, which is a d10. So what you can have a fighter that does range stuff, you can have a fighter that does melee stuff. Fighters are really good with feats, although feats are much more expensive, I guess, and hard and not as easy to get in 5e, because in Pathfinder you got feat every level as a fighter, because most classes got it every other level. As a fighter, you got a fighter feat a combat feat every on all the levels nobody else did. But in this edition, you only get it every 4 levels when the stat bonuses happen. You can trade it in for a stat bonus. Monks, sort of like fighters, but a little more wisdom, a little more restraint. They're this whole Asian, like, Shaolin Chinese monk that hits with its fist. They do unarmed damage. They're fast, they're strong, and they can take a hit. Paladins, like clerics, but more badass. They're more punchers than casters, I guess, but they can still do casting stuff and healing and whatever. So clerics and paladins clerics especially tend to be primary healers. A ranger, they're sort of like magic fighters. They use nature magic and swords and or bows and arrows to get stuff done, and they're really good with, you know, wilderness terrain. And they also get favorite enemies, so, you know, you can have, if your backstory is that you're really mad about this one species because whatever goblins killed your family, you can take a favorite enemy, goblinoids, and so you get extra damage or whatever against all goblinoids. And you get more favorite enemy classes, groups as you level up. Rogues. I'm a fan of rogues. I've never played them in Pathfinder, but I played a lot of them in 5e, and they're a lot of fun. They get the sneak damage. As I'm sure I've done a video on 5e rogues before, so I'm not gonna do it again. But there's a lot of stealth damage. They're great. Sorcerers. I'm also a huge fan of sorcerers. They're spontaneous arcane casters, which means they don't, unlike wizards, they don't need a spell book. They don't need to prepare their spells each day like clerics and paladins and wizards. And I think druids as well. I've never played any of those, actually. But they get fewer spells, and other reasons. Warlocks. Warlocks are sort of like wizards, except spontaneous casters, and they also have a patron. They're sort of like witches in Pathfinder, but more fucked up, kind of. And honestly, a little less fun because they don't get the prehensile hair hex, but there's also the hex. Anyways, whatever. Last but not least, wizards. They're magic users with books. They're thinkers, they're learners, and they can cast Fireball and kill the fuck out of you, but they can't cast it nearly as many times per day. And if they don't have it prepared for that day, they're fucked. So yeah, that's it. Later on I'll go through, you know, each of these classes and do a thing for each of them. Not the rogues, because I already did a video on rogues, and not bards, because I'm pretty sure I already did a video on bards and sorcerers too. But everybody else, yeah. If you enjoyed this video, check out more content in the links in the description below for the Dungeon of Bad Decisions Discord server, and for my blog where I post quotes, anecdotes, and photos from tabletop games I play in at the dungeonofbaddecisions.tumblr.com, and to support my Patreon. Special thanks again to Polytron and Tark for being Average Adventurer Tier 2 patrons. Click here to check out the rest of the series, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Roll 20s, y'all!